Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. A few announcements for the intro today. Electrify Expo is going to be here at Austin starting Friday the 10th of November, just a couple of days from now, just a few miles south of Giga Texas as well. Tesla will have a display along with many other automobile manufacturers offering test drives and a lot of other great events. E-mobility manufacturers will be there as well, and a lot of other very interesting displays. I went to it last year and I had an outstanding time, so if you can go, I would highly recommend that you do so. As many of you know, I've been monitoring the developments down at Starbase for Starship's next flight, and it's looking like it may be the week of the 13th of November. And I just want to let you know I'm going to be out of town down there watching the Starship launch, and I'm going to be there for probably about a week. As you may recall, I got a chance to be at the first launch back in April. I spent about 2 weeks there, covered a lot of ground around Starbase and the surrounding areas, and I did various videos about that as well, and I intend to do that again while I'm there. I also had a great opportunity to meet some tremendous people. This slide just gives you some idea of who I got a chance to meet and hang out with during the launch. A lot of them are YouTubers that cover SpaceX and the space business, and I'm looking forward to doing that as well. While I'm gone, coverage of Giga Texas will continue. Jeff Roberts and Brad Sloan will continue flying the drone and put videos out. I know it's very important since the Cybertruck delivery event is coming up and everybody really wants to see how the production rate of Cybertrucks are going leading up to that event, and Brad and Jeff will do an outstanding job making sure that you are continued to be informed while I'm gone. So make sure you watch their YouTube channels to keep up to date. Finally, as I mentioned, I will be doing coverage of some items around Starbase and associated events with the Starship launch while I'm away. I also hope to stop at the Corpus Christi lithium plant and get some updated footage there as well. But otherwise, thank you again for your support and for watching, and look forward to showing you what's going on down at Starbase and hoping for a successful Starship IFT-2. And finally, as I mentioned, I will be back for the Cybertruck event. There's also a Cybertruck after party being put on by the Austin Tesla Club. The link is here, also in the video description. There's still room, so if you want to come out and get a chance to meet a lot of people that cover Giga Texas and Tesla, this would be a great event. Of course, the Cybertruck delivery event coming up on the 30th as well. So otherwise, that's the news for this intro. Let's get in the drone, fly around the site, see how Giga Texas looks today. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Well, good morning. We're starting off here on the east side at the multi-level parking garage construction site. The manifold on the right is getting the final dirt put on it and finishing that up so they can continue with the road construction. All the geopiers in the middle section here, all those little dots that you see, look like it's completed, and the work on footings continues on this west side. A lot of them have the concrete already poured, as you can tell. A new excavation underway that mimics the one on the left. You can see how that is very similar. It looks like there's a bar in between them on two sections that may help to stabilize the two and keep them joined together. As I pull back, this is a good view of this entire west side of this multi-level parking garage construction site. As I continue to move towards the north, you can tell the stain on the wall where it is completed right now, and there's just a small section remaining. And I also noticed that there was a Cybertruck getting ready to enter into this testing track as part of the testing and calibration lot. You can also see the tent where they do some of the initial checkouts and register the vehicles when they come in. And then another large tent that is used in the middle of the screen once the test is completed. Now you can see it went over some of those bumps and some of the rumble strips here. And as we continue to follow the Cybertruck, we're going to get a chance to see something very interesting, and the first time I've seen this here at Giga Texas. And that is, we're going to see water leak testing. Now first, take a look at this 360-degree turn. That was pretty good as far as its turn radius. And you can see that it's been moved up here onto the ramp. And the device that it's going into is called a rainmaker. You can see all of these very large pipes. The blue trailer has got the water in it and a lot of these pumps. And it basically sprays high pressure water at the vehicle. And they use this to test for leaks around the doors, the windows, the frunk, and other parts of the vehicle. So it looks like the workers are getting ready to put the Cybertruck in here and test it. Right now, it looks like they're doing some preliminary work. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see it drive in, but it does look like that's what they're preparing to do today. And this is also just a very good close-in view of that rainmaker, and you can kind of get a sense of how it operates with all of the pumps and the pipes, the water being sprayed. And this was installed maybe a year ago, maybe not quite that much, maybe the beginning of this year, along with the wind tunnel. And they've been using it for a lot of testing on Model Ys. But as I mentioned, this is the first time I've seen the Cybertruck being tested in this particular device. You can get a good sense here of the two doors that are open. Looks like it's a black interior. And looks like maybe they're just doing some final initial steps before they move it into the rainmaker. You can also see where it is located in relation to the helicopter pad, and there is another Cybertruck parked here as well. But based on the front window and the wiper marks, it looks like this one has been driven around a little. And also the testing and calibration lot just gives you a good sense of how many Model Ys are being produced. I keep getting asked, how's the production of Model Y going? And it looks like it's ramping, but it's remaining flat as Tesla mentioned it would. This is a good view of the receiving doors with those enclosures. 5 of them on the left have already got kind of the enclosures themselves wrapped around the frame, and you can see more of the frames being installed. Another big interesting item today is all of these many dozen of front Cybertruck castings. And as I come up over the power lines, I'll give you a close-in view. What you can see is the bulk of them are raw castings right out of the GigaPress. They haven't been trimmed yet. And then you'll see where the forklift is picking up a few. They look a little bit different. That's because they've been through the trimming and milling process. And you'll see 3 of them on the right and how they look. And then all of these are waiting for that final treatment, trimming, and milling. But this is a great sign because this indicates that some of the redesign work that they did on the front castings in the last few weeks may be completed, and they are now using the GigaPresses here to make more of those castings. So I take this as very positive news. On the left-hand side of the screen at the base of the wall, you can see all of those wires going into those vaults. More work on some of the other vaults, and then on this side here, you can see where the coils of the wires on those orange roller systems. Also, all of the cables going into that vault. This is the last major connection that is needed to be able to connect the second large transformer at the electrical switch yard to power the electrical system here at Giga Texas. So it's a big item that we're seeing being installed today. As I pull back, I give you a good view of how the outbound lot today looks. It is very busy, lots of Model Ys, very active trucks picking up the Model Ys. And of course, we have 2 Cybertrucks here today, but these are a little bit different, specifically the one on the front. As I zoom in, you'll see that it has the RC label on it, but also the wheel covers to me look like they're slightly different. It looks like maybe they've got some painted silver around the perimeter, and those kind of 7 projections, those rectangular ones. And I kind of like that look. It's a little different than just a pure black wheel cover that we have seen. Now, as I continue to maneuver the drone around, it's pretty obvious that these are being driven around. Also, the one on the left has that white interior. And as we talked about in my previous video, the white interior is the door panels and the dashboard, but the seats remain black. And we've seen that in multiple different images of Cybertrucks with the white interior, both here at Giga Texas, but also around the country, one of which was at the Peterson Automotive Museum out in California. But as I continue to maneuver the drone around, you get a good sense of how these 2 vehicles look, and the one with the RC label on it. And it looks like there's something mounted on the glass roof of the RC Cybertruck. Maybe that was used for maybe an antenna or some other testing equipment. But this is a good view of how these 2 look back to back, and in the background, Giga Texas as well. So I'm going to proceed over towards the east side of the casting machine structure. Again, you can see the white staining and how much it's progressed. All of the castings and the racks are the Model Ys at the bottom of the screen, and more of the work going on here on the east side. In addition to that, we see a crane active today, bringing up these ducting items, and these are going to be used, and I'll show you this in just a second, to connect the ducted fans to the rectangular vents on the roof, and it will allow that ventilation to happen through the casting machine structure. And we are flying right over that, and in the middle of this roof on the ground is where that new large furnace system was installed. And for the ventilation that's required, they needed these ducted fans, these rectangular openings, and you can see how the kind of those silver ducts are being attached to the fans, and then that will allow them to connect into those rectangular openings and allow for that ventilation. So this is a good view of that work that is going on here on the roof today, and getting this ready so that the furnace can operate without being too much heat for the workers inside. The northeast corner shows a lot of activity on the ground with some items, some materials, also the open vaults, and that's where the wires are continuing around the side of the building and up to the Megapack and electrical switchyard section. I also wanted to give you a good view in here. This is a rear casting of the Cybertruck. If you compare this to the front castings that we just saw, you can tell that they are very different. This one still has the raw casting material that has not been milled on it yet. So anyway, it's interesting to see that the castings for the Cybertruck are apparently making some big progress. And also, word on the street here at the factory is that earlier this week, the production of the customer deliverable Cybertrucks has begun. So I think that's great news, and seeing the castings helps with that as well. The 4680 production section, getting all of this work inside, continues. We can see through the opening here the new floor that has been added right over that one entrance, and this is continuing inside to expand the 4680 production capability from the 1 operational and 3 near operational lines to ultimately 8 sometime in 2024. Here we're flying over the employee overflow lot. Not a lot of vehicles yet, but I am flying early today. I'm going to give you a pretty brief view of the cathode plant, the die shop, and the crash test facility today. I want to show you more activity that is going on the west side, so this will be a pretty brief flyover. But you can see the operations here at the crash testing facility on the left. Many Cybertrucks are continuing to be crash tested there as part of the final development. The Wade pit has not been used for some time, and as I pivot the drone back around, you'll be able to see this on the east side, and of course the work that is going on the north end with those receiving doors and the apron as well. So a good view of the east side here, the construction that's going on here with the concrete vaults and some of the pipes as part of that lift station. We can see work being done with the center grade with geotextile membranes and dirt, getting ready for concrete and roadways. And of course the chiller plant operations, some trenching for some of the underground water management pipes. And then on this east side or west side of the die shop, we can see how that looks today. I'm going to reposition the drone over to the electrical switch yard and show you some of the changes that are going on over here today. This is a good view of the temporary switch yard on the left, which is no longer operational. The main new switch yard, which has half of the transformers operational, and kind of what we were talking about with the wiring earlier. And then here on the north end, this is part of the final wiring that connects this part here underground over to the north part of the Megapack site. Now, I've had a viewer mention that that large gray item with the two red bands on the trailer is a device to test these other cones, which are kind of voltage gradient cones, and you can see what looks to be testing going on here right now with that system. So I think that's yet another positive sign. We do see some trench work along the fence of the electrical switch yard in the middle of the screen. And then here on the north end of the Megapack, we can see work around the section here where the three black cables come up through the conduit, and that connects to that north end that we were just seeing. So I'm going to fly up over the frontage road here. We see a truck with Model Ys getting ready to move off site. And I want to resume the flight here, flying along Tesla Road, and show you some of the developments that are going on this west side. First of all, we see all of the steel here being stored. Much of this, I believe, is destined to go to the south end as part of the extension process. Some others are being used for other projects around the site. We can see that the work here to continue to widen Tesla Road is continuing, and it looks like they're preparing for this second section of asphalt to make this a 4-lane road rather than the temporary 2 that we see right now. This intersection itself is being widened and expanded, and the road Farm to Market 973 with all the cars driving on it is also being expanded and widened, and it will eventually be 4 lanes. Now, a couple of videos ago, I showed you in a bonus video this section here. This is still part of Giga Texas property. Up until recently, no work was being done, but now they're using this to get dirt and take it to the southeast corner of the West Support facility, and I will show you that later in the video. And they're using that to remove the ponds and the hills that are part of the old sand and gravel mine. And in fact, this area here is also part of the old sand and gravel mine. And the process of getting the dirt here is also starting to level this area as well. So who knows, maybe there'll be some construction here at some point in the distant future related to Giga Texas. But as we cross over 973 and fly along this area here, other than the houses on the right, we are still over on Giga Texas property. And you can see the steel items on the left. That's part of that material staging that I was just talking about earlier. And also this in the middle of the screen is where the road is being constructed that will connect Tesla Road behind the drone, and at the far end, River Road. And you can get a good sense of how this paving is underway, the curbs, the median, and eventually there will be lights along that median, very much like we see on the south end of the building on River Road as well. Now, I've had some viewers ask, why does the road Y here, and on the right, will this road connect into the housing? It won't, but it will parallel the housings along the side of the material staging that you see here, and will connect over to the new clearing, which I will show you later, and that's where all the dirt is headed from that section of the Tesla property that we just talked about. But this is how it looks today from this perspective, looking across the new outbound lot, the end of line facility, and the main building as well. The excavation work that you see in the middle here, I believe is for lighting, but I've had some viewers say that they think it may be for something else, so I guess we'll just have to wait and find out what they make. But you can clearly see here that electrical conduit is being installed into each of the trenches in this section, and something similar will be happening on this area where we see that similar trench work. We also get a good view here of the south end of the new end-of-line building. We can see the 4 large doors and a couple of personnel doors, kind of a overhang covering, and just a little bit more of the wall panels remaining to be installed, and a small section of the roof. This is a good view of the west side of the end-of-line facility with a lot of the trench work that is underway. Some of it is for electrical conduit. You can see some of that red material being placed on top of the conduit in the trenches. And then this is a new development here. You can see the 3 rectangular concrete vaults and the excavator here. This is where that horizontal drilling pipe with the smaller pipes that go through it will connect to the main building and allow electrical conduit and electrical wires to go under the road over to this section, and then this will be the main branch, which will have electrical conduit and wires go out throughout this entire facility. And this is also a very good look here from the north end of the end-of-line building and how this part is continuing to progress as well. I did notice on this section here, 3 more of the concrete vaults have been installed, more of the electrical conduit. You can see that red material again, that's like a concrete mix that's put on to secure the conduit, but also the red is a warning for future workers if they're excavating there that there is electrical wiring in that section. So that's why it's red. You can see here where the conduit comes to a 90-degree turn, and it looks like they're preparing for more concrete vaults in this new excavation. And again, a good look here. I'll bring the drone in closer of the south end of the building, and you can get a good sense of how this is looking today. That covered awning, those 4 large doors and some of the smaller personnel doors, and just how much of the south end of the roof and the wall panels remain. I'm going to reposition the drone back over to the material staging yard here because there's some significant events that are underway. First of all, we can get a good sense of the materials that are being stored here. Some of them are steel items, some of them are HVAC ducting in the middle. We see some of the containers that can have equipment and other items. Some of the wood crates on the right. These are the superchargers that used to be on the south end of the building and now are destined to be installed here at the outbound lot. We see the TKS painting system here. In my previous video, I showed how some of that was being moved into the east side of the south end of the body of white structure, which is new. And then we also see something very interesting here, this large, huge manifold. Just take a look at it compared to the size of the cranes and some of the workers that are nearby, just to give you an idea. Now, the only thing that I can think of that I've seen before here at Giga Texas that would warrant a large manifold like this was the regenerative thermal oxidizer system that was installed as part of the paint shop. Now that we know that more of the TKS modular paint systems are being installed on the second floor of the east side of body in white, I'm wondering if this may be a second regenerative thermal oxidizer system, which is designed to remove volatile organic compounds or fumes from the painting process in an environmentally safe way. I did cover this in depth on a 2021 video, so if you want more information on that, let me know in the comment section and I will reference that video. As I mentioned, this is the new clearing where all of the dirt is being brought from that second section that we talked about earlier, and this entire area is being flattened as if it's going to be a construction site. So something worth watching as time goes on. On the right-hand side of the screen where all the trees are, that's that environmental uplift section. And we talked about that in length on a previous video, but this is part of a flood management system that has been installed to protect Giga Texas. Here's a good view of the West Warehouse on wheels as it looks today, the end-of-line facility on the left, the main factory, and this new road that is coming along paralleling the main road. And this is going to be the path that the new vehicles will take from the factory over to the outbound lot. It's also a good view of where many of the windows that were removed from the south end of the building are currently being stored. And as we fly over the highway, this is a good view of the south end, the cyber pond, and how this entire south end construction site looks today. There is a lot of specific activity I want to show you. First of all, the amount of footings that are being installed here in the center section has now reached the west boundary of that new Stamping 2 extension. And in addition to that, we can see that the scaffolding is being removed from that Stamping 2 extension. And I'll give you a closer view in just a second. But this is a good view of all of the construction here and excavation work for the new footings. You can see the CFA piers at the bottom of each of the footings as well. And this is a good close-in view of that scaffolding removing and how the crews do that. But returning back to talking about the footings, we can see the rebar work that is being done here, some of the forms to make sure that the column mounts are centered within the footings. We can see how the frames and formwork with concrete is making the column bases stand pretty tall above the grade of the building. And then this is a good view showing that there is more excavation work and preparation to build footings right at the perimeter grade of the main building. You can see that on the left. What this tells me is that the new building will butt directly up to the old building, and the old exterior painted walls may act as some sort of like a firewall separating the two structures, but they'll all appear to be under one roof. There's a good view of some of the materials waiting for installation on the left. A lot of the steel that is being brought here, and most of this is coming from that west side north material staging with all the steel that we talked about earlier. And this vantage point gives you a really good view of the column bases emanating out of the footings. Some of them have the forms, some of them have already been poured with concrete. And I'm going to give you a good view of a couple of things here that are important to note. One, on the left, you can see the new perimeter grade beam being formed in with the rebar and getting ready for concrete between each of the column bases. And then here, as I zoom in, take a look at the size of the workers next to those column bases. You can see the mounts on top of the concrete. That's where the columns will be installed. And this also gives you a really good idea of just how far above the grade these column bases truly are. And as I mentioned in my previous video, this is different from the way the footings were constructed for the main factory. So we may be seeing either a slightly different design or a different column design used on this part of the factory. But as I bring the drone up, this is a good overall view of the south end, how the footing construction looks today, how this compares to the existing shape of the building and how the new shape is mimicking it. It's just extending it to the south, approximately 120 meters, give or take. It just depends on how this is going to be measured. But as I fly the drone along this south end, this is a good view of how all of this is coming together. And we'll see the footings continue to work their way over to the west. Right now, it's about midpoint of the south end of the building. Now, on this side of the building, something different has been employed. In addition to the CFA piles, which we know these cranes were used to drill, and it looks like that work is completed. But they've also brought some of the geopier in, and you can see the equipment, the yellow equipment waiting idle. And they've done more of the geopiers here as well. Because the geopiers look like they're idle now and maybe the impactor is being dismantled, maybe this is indicating it's the end of that work. But it's something we'll continue to monitor. But otherwise, let me climb the drone up, give you a good view of the roof and the solar panels with Tesla. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed what we talked about and what you saw, and have a great week. Take care.